Welcome to Better Credit, Better Home, your source for the latest local and national news that can impact you if you are in the market for real estate. Here are your hosts, the Kingwood mortgage guy, Mike Durr, who uses his 25 years as a mortgage professional to help people improve their credit, and Joe Salas, an accomplished home inspector, real estate agent, and trainer of new agents for Byrd Property International. Together, they will help you understand what you need to know to get the most out of your real estate investment. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Well, I'm not sure Joe is going to make it today, but I hope he does. But we've got a lot of information for you today, and I want to thank you for tuning in. We will go through a series of what we think is important in real estate, and we just want to thank you for being here. And gosh, we'd love any comments, any reviews, or just subscribe to us. We'd love that. So anyway, without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on this bit here. And what we're going to talk about, first thing is Houston's rated number 2 nationally for the largest net migration in 2023, or up to this point in 2023. So I'm going to go that. I'm going to share the rest of this with you just real quick. And I'm going to do this. Let's see if we get this right. So we're going to talk about the Houston number 2 on the top 10 national list. Houston City Council opts for more affordable housing. One of the things that's happening out there is that a lot of people are shut out of buying a home just because of the cost of homes right now. And so they're actually making some progress. This just came out of the Houston City Council probably 2 weeks ago. I didn't know about it until today. So the next one is, what should you look for when choosing a home? So we're going to talk about what you should look for things that make it a good home. And we're also going to talk about some of the things that are red flags. We're going to talk about the bond market and look at rates. I think that'll be a positive thing for you today. I've also got a section, we call this Better Credit, Better Home. We sometimes forget about the credit part, but I've got information today that's going to help you understand or give a little more clarity to how to improve your credit. So I think that that's important. So without any hesitating, I just want to make sure I'm going to check from time to time to see if Joe pops in. Let's see if I can do that here. Yep, not yet. We'll keep an eye out for that. Maybe he'll talk to us when he does. Anyway, all right. So Houston ranked number 2 nationally on the list. Houston is one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. Dallas and Fort Worth came in number 10. There were only 2 in Texas that showed up on this list. Now, what this migration list looks like is the number of people that are moving to a city. And then we also have the list of the cities that they're moving from. Interesting also on this list, Florida had 6 out of 10. So there are a lot of people still moving to Florida also. And the source on this was Freddie Mac. Here, I've got the list in my hands. Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ontario, California. They were number 1 on the list. Houston, the Woodlands, Sugarland was number 2. And then the rest of these, if you want to know the rest of these, I mean, it's dominated by Florida. Let's see, there is a South Carolina or North Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Obviously, it sounds like a really good place to be. But this is where people are going. Now, the other thing, I think I've got this on the next slide, if you can see this. There are, on the next slide, California, 4 different California areas are ranked in the bottom 10, or the places where more people are leaving. I thought that was interesting. And why do you think people are leaving California? I mean, California's got wonderful weather, beautiful scenery. What is the problem with California? And if my buddy Joe was here, he'd tell you that it could be the cost of living, which is what makes Houston the number 2 in the nation is we're probably one of the most affordable places to live. Well, California is 1, Chicago, Miami, New York, Boston, all of those. The California ones rank as right in the middle. Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, and then San Diego again. So I didn't say San Diego, which all are beautiful cities, but it just has to be the cost of living is what's going on. So we've also gotten this information in the past from the U-Haul, keeps records of where their one-way trucks go, that kind of stuff, and it's consistently bad for those cities. And people, particularly at this time when we've got inflation, we've got people looking for a place that they can survive. And it turns out that right now Houston is one of the meccas because our cost of living in this town, not only to buy a house, but just to live and to work, is one of the best in the United States. So it's one of the reasons we think that our economy is going to maintain, particularly the housing economy. And so I'd say that this is a pretty good bet for somewhere to live. All right, so talk about this one. This is Houston wins over developers, surprises neighborhood groups with these new development rules. And this another one I'm going to mention that I read this maybe a couple weeks ago in regards to California. And what part of this rule is allowing for smaller houses to go on smaller lots. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to accommodate the people that can't afford the 10,000, 14,000 square foot lots with one house on there, one family. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make the living quarters, maybe the smaller footprint, not only for the lot, but for the house so that people can afford that. And it makes sense. They're particularly talking about the duplexes, triplexes, quads, smaller apartment type complexes, or maybe they're condo type complexes, because they are talking specifically about moving in and owning those. A big part of this was what I thought was interesting was the garage apartment. And there are a lot of people that would love to have either another space on their house for family, could be your kids, could be your parents, could be anybody, to live close to you and live in a garage apartment. Well, where previously that wasn't allowed by whatever the codes were, that may be allowed now. So obviously I want you to check with your specific homeowners association to see if that's something that you can do. But the city of Houston has just signed over and said that that's something that they can do. One of the ladies that was mentioned in the article said that she wouldn't be able to survive without the rent money that she got from the garage apartment that she had on her property. So I thought that's an interesting way. I mean, I would have guessed that Houston would not be at the forefront of this movement, and I'm pleasantly surprised that they are. So anyway, thought that would be good news for you. So what should home buyers look for when considering buying a home? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that, and that Joe would echo, would be location, location, location. But I'm gonna stray away from that pat answer and go proximity. Proximity is another way of saying location. It's just proximity to your work, proximity to your church, proximity to shopping, proximity to your schools and your family. All of those are important things. Other things that you should look at is you should look at a neighborhood. Thing about a neighborhood is a community develops a character, and some characters or characteristics are better than others. So you want to look for those things. That might entail driving past a house or a neighborhood that you're looking at different times during the day, during traffic times, during late nights, on Friday night or Saturday night, or even Sunday night for that matter, to see what's going on in that community. Price is a factor. When you're looking, sometimes you're limited by what the price you can pay. A big one that ranks at the top of the list is always a quality school district. Maybe not, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you will never have kids, but the people that want to move into your area, a lot of them have kids. They want to put their children through schools that are going to give them a good education. So that's an important thing, if not to know yourself, but it's also a good thing for selling that property at some point in time. Home style and size, obviously, it's got to be right for you. It's got to have the number of bedrooms that's right, the size, maybe the big backyard or the little backyard or whatever it is that you might want. Amenities that each property would have. There may be more amenities based on it may have a park or a swimming pool that is close to you so that you can access those. The other thing I'm a big fan of you looking at is the taxes and the cost of living. And of course, the condition of the home is going to always be one of those main things. So that's that group. The next slide is going to show you the warning signs to not buy. And first thing, if you can't do an inspection on that property, just walk away. There's no reason even looking at the property. If somebody's going to restrict you from having an inspection, they're hiding something. The other thing you want to do is you want to see if others are moving out of the neighborhood. And I think that I've got this slide here. I think that these are maybe newer homes, but I've been in neighborhoods where there are a lot of people selling, and there's usually a reason that they are selling. So if a lot of people are moving out, it's not a bad thing to talk to people that live in the neighborhood and find out what's going on. Your sense of smell. Now, this is an obvious one. You might have a treatment plant, or you could be close to some businesses that have dumpsters that when the wind blows the wrong way, you get some of that aroma. That's not very good for selling your house. If the roof looks bad, I think I actually put a slide up. No, I did. Let's see if I've got that. Yeah, there's one. So in this picture, one of the roofs looked like it's brand new. The other one looked like it's falling apart. Those are obvious things. You want to check the plumbing. You want to make sure that the water faucets work. Make sure that there's enough pressure so that when you're taking a shower that you've got enough pressure that you want. You want to look for cracks in the walls and in the foundation area. And you want to make sure that the doors close and they're square. If there's a way to turn the air conditioning or the heater on, you want to do that. But again, I go back to the neighbors is a big one that I think is always kind of a sleeper. I don't think everybody does that, but you should just hang out and find some people out around that neighborhood and just kind of ask them some questions about the area. So shifting gears right here. This was a article that came out. I think the name of the article is called Calculated Risk. And what this guy does is he does all kinds of graphs and numbers on real estate. And in this particular case, I thought it was appropriate to look at the graphs that he put out here. So the inventory is a huge predictor of the housing market. And in this one, you can see that it's real obvious in this graph that you can see, whether you're even on this screen, that there's a huge bulge kind of to the middle left. And what's going on is that was around 2005 and 6, where housing was just crazy. They were building like crazy. We had a lot of inventory available. And there was, I think it's 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those 5 years, every one of these graph deal, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 5 years there where our inventory of houses that are available we just had too many houses for not enough buyers. So they shut it down. And of course, this was also the 2008 period when the mortgage industry went crazy. I mean, it just blew up. Everybody in the mortgage industry just about quit at that time. There were a few people hung on. I was one of them. I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't very smart. But as inventory dropped off back about 2011, you can see that it's continued to fall all the way through this 2023. And so somewhere along the shift, we probably had a balanced market, but obviously particularly the last 3 years, we don't have enough houses. So what we talked about a minute ago is we talked about Houston being one of the best places to move to. We've got all these people moving to Houston, and Texas in general is growing to be the second largest populated state in the United States. And we're not building enough houses for them. and that the results of that are going to make for a strong housing market, one that consistently appreciates because we've got too many people wanting to buy houses and we don't have enough houses. There's another slide just behind this. This is the number of months of supply. And again, you see the same bulge. These are years down here. And then as you get closer to over here, this is 2023. And you can see that we have, I think that's right at 3 months of housing supply. And that's based on inventory from the multiple listing services that are all around all over the country. So I mean, this isn't Texas. This is the United States. It is amplified in Texas, mainly because we have so much growth. So it's too many homes, not enough buyers, current market, too many buyers, limited supply of homes, and it is not getting any better. Now, as I said before, and I don't want to offend anybody, for home buyers, that's not good news because that means the prices are going to continue to go up until they buy. And when you buy, that's good news because that means the property values are going to continue to go up. Now, going back to the article that I read about the city allowing some of these smaller dwelling units, accessory dwelling units, garage apartments, whatever, and are the smaller homes on the smaller lots, that could give you a foot into the door of home ownership. And hopefully that will bear some fruit. The one thing about that I read, the neighborhoods they're starting in maybe aren't the most popular neighborhoods. So hopefully it will spread throughout the whole city. All right. I always like to have a chart for mortgage-backed securities in the morning. And when I show this chart, this is a 3-month chart, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see that rates were up here. So they're right about there over the last 3 months. And rates, particularly the last 5 or 6 weeks, have really shot up. But that when they shoot up, this is the bond market goes down. And that's the thing you have to get your mind around, is that this chart is kind of opposite of rates. And what you can see right about here, it started steadying up a little bit. And of course, this was when rates were in the 8s. But we had a good day, and then we had a couple more days. And in this last week, we've actually started a new trend, and we hope it becomes a trend. Like this is a downward trend. If you put some direct lines across there, you would see a downward trend. Well, we've got what appears to be a reversal of that. And when the bond market does well, rates come down. And there are already notations that applications have picked up because rates are going to get better. And you'll see as we go through the rest of the chart that, or the rest of the presentation, that rates are getting better. So this one, I think, was a 2 years. Yeah, this is 2 years. And you can see where rates were 2 years ago. And then all these little purple things that you see in here that kind of cloud this up, these are lock alerts. This is when the company that I get this information from encourage people, particularly mortgage brokers, to get their customers to lock because things are getting worse. Hopefully that's going to change pretty quick. And then I think I have one more here, that this is from 2017. Now, even though the market shows here rates were good then, and then they weren't good. All right. And now they're kind of in this mode, but they're actually on this right side. This is where they're at now. So we've got a lot of room, which I'm not sure we're going to make it back to an area in here. But if we get up into this range here, that will be very good for the real estate market. Very good for helping people buy houses at a reasonable cost. So I'm shifting gears here, and we're going to talk about the temporary rate buy downs. Now, if you don't know what that is where people have gone in, they're buying a property, and they are invited to do a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 or a 1-1 buy down. And what you do is you pay interest in advance to get a lower rate. And let's just say it's today, and the rates are, I guess, 7.6. Let's just say 7. Let's say 7.5. So if rates are at 7.5 today, a temporary buy down, you can actually start your first year's mortgage payment at 5.5%. The second year, it would go to 6.5%. And the third year, it would be back to the 7.5% rate. So the final rates are higher. And right now, the nature of this rate buy down thing are trending down. And the reason is they're expensive. The cost to get that initial lower rate costs thousands of dollars. And my whole argument is, and I think I can prove this in a math thing. I won't do it today, but if you wanted to talk about that, I'd be glad to. In the math, if you just took that same money and bought down the rate, you would have a permanent buy down. Now, it wouldn't be a full 2 points below what the rate is today, but it would be substantially better, particularly if you use the same money that you're paying for these temporary buy downs. Here's part of it. A lot of these buy downs are paid for by sellers and by builders. And when they give you a contribution to your closing costs, you can use that money any way you like. So just be aware of that. And if you'd like to talk about it and go through the math on why I think the permanent buy downs are much better than the temporary buy downs, I'd encourage you to call me. I'd like to go through that math deal through you. All right, shifting gears to my credit part right now. And what I've got here is I've got a borrower that I'm working with right now, and I'm helping them to improve their credit. And the goal for them is to do a conventional loan. And you can see on here, I've circled this part up the corner here. Let me just see if I can make this a little bigger. I think I can. Do this and do this. Yeah, that'll make it a little better. So what I've got here, I've got a 627 Experian FICO score. I've got a 559 TransUnion, and a 659 Equifax. Now, when we read that, we throw out the lowest, we throw out the highest, and we use the middle one. And this FICO score is good enough to get an FHA loan. Under very special circumstances, you might get a conventional loan, but it would be ugly. Down at the bottom of the credit reports, though, it shows the potential points that are, if you do certain things, you can get your credit score up to this level. And you can see that he's got 41 points of upside here. He's got 71 points upside there and 24 upside points here. So that puts him right at 670, or in this case, what, 668? 668 would be high enough for them to do a conventional loan. So the mission is to find out what we can do to get there. Now, I'm showing you just a little bit of this. Of course, I've marked out all the places where you would be able to identify this person, but you can see he's got a charge off that is right at $3,000. He's got a collection here. It looks like a medical collection, and medical collections are particularly annoying because you could never know, you might never know that you even had a medical collection until you looked at your credit. They're making some amends to the way credit reports are being done so that they can maybe alleviate that. Down here, he's got a 30-day, well, actually, that's not true. He's got 5 30-day lates, and they were mostly in 2020. Now, after a couple years, the effect of this doesn't hurt as much, but that's another story. And then he's got 1 late on this one down here. So there's not really a lot you can do with late payments. It just stop having late payments. That's the key thing. But this page right here is where we can do a lot. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but these are revolving credit. It tells you right there, the account type is revolving credit. In this case, he's got a $6,000 limit. That's his maximum limit. And then his balance is $4,122. And on all the ones that I've highlighted here, his balance is more than 50% of the limit. And that's a big factor. And one of the ways that you help your credit score is that you keep your limit, or not your limit, you keep your balance well below 50%. If you can keep it around 30%, your credit score will jump like the proverbial chicken. If you get it down to 10%, it will be at the upper levels of the scoring mechanism. So in this particular case, what I've suggested to him is to pay these debts, you can see he's just a little bit over the 50% range there. In this case, he's about 70%. So I told him they needed to get that one down to maybe $400. And down here, the same thing. He wants to get this maybe $200, something like that. If he does those things, you can see it. He pays as agreed. He doesn't have any lates on any of these. It has nothing to do with that. It's specifically about your limit and your balance. And not a lot of people know that that's a way that you can positively affect your credit score. And it happens fast. Once you pay that debt and it's sent to the credit reporting area, they affect that your credit score right away. I mean, it's dynamic. It happens immediately. Now, what happens is you've just got to make sure you know when they report so that you can know when we should pull the credit the next time. So hopefully that's helpful. Now, I was talking about rates. I always like to look at rates later in the day, particularly today. And you can see the 30-year fix has gone from last week, it was 7.625. This week, it's 7.375. Gosh, we're sneaking around close to the sixes again. 15-year, 6.875. Jumbo, 7.5. FHA, 7 1/8. And the VA is around 7 1/8 too. So this is an indication that rates are getting better, and it could be very soon we'll be back in the sixes. Who knows where this could go? This is one I talked about last week. This is just a reminder that if you are thinking that 20% down is the minimum that you can put down, that is not the truth. 0 works for VA and USDA. 3% if you have a decent score on conventional. FHA allows a 3.5%, and then of course 5% is a conventional on a standard conventional, and anything more than that is gravy. So if you're at that early levels of saving, just know that you don't have to have 20%. Now, the more you have, the better, but it doesn't necessarily mean a better rate. I'm going to skip this guy. We talked about that. How you get the best homeowners rate. We'll skip that. And I think that is it. So I want to thank you for being with us today. Listen, we'd love it if you make comments. If you have any questions, obviously, we've got my phone number right there, 281-3. Well, no, that shouldn't be there. Let me go to one where my phone is acting up. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Where'd it go? There we go. There's my number. 713-859-9994. Love it for you to call, make comments, subscribe, and we will definitely be here next week. So we hope you show up, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.